Now, Trump is going to be inviting China to come over here for the inauguration. Don't know if they'll fly one of their balloons or drones over, or if he'll just take a regular airplane or what. But he's coming over or being invited over. We'll see if he comes. Says Trump has invited Xi Jinping from China to come over. Invited him in early November, shortly after the election, but it was not clear whether he accepted the invitation. They contacted the Chinese embassy, who didn't comment on it. Transition spokesperson Carolyn Levitt told CBS News that he was invited, saying, "This is an example of Trump creating an open dialogue. World leaders are lining up to meet with Trump. They know he'll soon return to power. Ambassadors and other diplomats are usually invited. We'll see what happens." Trump has also long believed leader-to-leader relationships are important to governance. And so we'll see if China comes over and visits for the inauguration. Now, elsewhere, Trump went to the New York Stock Exchange and was the first to do so since Ronald Reagan, about to ring in a new era of prosperity. And here's a short clip from this portion of the signing.
1985, where he addressed the floor. Yes, it's a great honor to have you. You will be
a great honor to have you, Mr. President. So that was there. Here is another portion of the event.
The 45th President of the United States, the 47th President-elect, and the Person of the Year from Time, Donald J. Trump.
And I'm proud to be an American. At least I know I'm free.
All right, so
and I won't forget.
President, and I think this was at the New York Stock Exchange, although it looks like Mar-a-Lago, right, with all that gold everywhere. Anyways, beautiful building. So they're walking out. Let's fast forward past the music. The whole crowd is there, and there's President Trump and Melania in the house. And here's just a short statement from the president. All right, so here he is.
Very much. This is an honor, a tremendous honor. I brought some of our compatriots along with us. They're going to do a beautiful job for you for the next 4 years.
All right, so RFK is back there. And here was another interview. I think that's with Kramer, with Melania on scene.
Well, I think so. We're going to do something great with crypto because we don't want China or anybody else, not just China, but others are embracing it, and we want to be the head. We're going to be ahead of AI. We're going to be way ahead of AI, and we've got to produce tremendous amounts of electricity. It's unbelievable when you think that we need more than twice what we already have. If you think that's pretty for a specific industry, but we'll be able to do it. We have Lee Zeldin in charge of the environment. He's going to be giving us very strong approvals, I think, and he's going to make sure everything's good and clean and proper, but he's going to give us very fast approvals.
All right, so a busy morning for the president, and there was a bunch of activity. Here's a little bit more.
We're going to cut them very substantially. We got them down to 21% from probably 2 or 44%, depending on where you are, and we got them down to 21. Everyone said that was a miracle. Now we're getting them down to 15, but only if you make your product here. Otherwise, you pay 21, which is not bad. It's in the middle of the pack, but 15 brings you down to among the lower. And for those that are running the big companies, those great, big, beautiful companies, nobody's going to be leaving us. You're going to be coming back. You're going to be bringing it back to the United States. We are incenting everybody to come back to the United States.
Let's
we want
go.
you back here. Car manufacturers, everybody. And we have one product that nobody has really to the extent that we do. It's called oil and gas. There is no country in the world that has more. We're number one. I brought it to number one during my first term in terms of production. We're going to be number one plus. We'll do numbers that nobody will really see before. And when that happens, prices are going to start coming down because people can't afford their groceries, and they're going to be affording their groceries very soon. I tell the story about a woman who, an old woman, no money, went to grocery store, had 3 apples. She put them down on the counter and she looked and she saw the price and she said, "Would you excuse me?" And she walked one of the apples back to the refrigerator and came back to pay for the 2 apples. And she left with 2 apples. And the woman at the counter said that was so sad. And when I heard about the story, I said, that should never happen in America, and it's not going to happen in America. We're going to do it right, and we're going to take care of our people, and we're going to do things that nobody ever thought even were possible. But we're going to have an economy the likes of which nobody's ever seen before, and everybody's coming back to America. I saw that the other day at the cathedral. They're all saying, we want to come back. We want to come back. And with a couple of changes done by Howard and Scott and some of the great people up here with me, we're going to bring them all back. They're all coming back. So thank you very much. This is a great honor, and ringing the bell will be fantastic. And go out and get them. We're with you all the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Amazing. Awesome stuff. And then I think the event had concluded over here. I think he might be walking around back there. Are they going to actually have the bell ringing here? All right. So that event ended anyway. So don't know that we actually have the bell ring in there, but he was there at the stock exchange, and I guess he does ring a bell. Let me see if I can find that. Did he ring the bell? Has that happened yet? Let's see here.
The incoming leader of the free world going to ring the bell here in about 20 seconds. An historic moment.
Here it is.
At the New York Stock Exchange as we get this opening bell rung by the president-elect, Donald Trump.
Let's do it, Mr. President. Yeah! All right, good. Amazing.
And welcome to Malibu, California, and Pepperdine's Graduate School of Public Policy. I'm Pete Peterson, the Dean of the School of Public Policy, and I'm delighted to have you back for the next episode of Office Hours with Victor Davis Hanson.
The heck is
Dr.
this?
Hanson is our Giles O'Malley Distinguished Visiting Professor.
Oh, it's Pepperdine. Oh, that brought us over. Oh, from the thing. All right. So what the heck was that? All right. So Pepperdine. Anyways, so Trump was there at the stock exchange, ringing the bell in, and that was fun to watch happen. We're excited to have this economy bursting at the seams again. And the president is leading the way. Man of the year, person of the year, on time, deserved. We're here for it. All right. So let's see what else is cooking out there. We've got some Kari Lake news. This was an interesting appointment that dropped yesterday. And we've got the news in the post courtesy of Johnny Maga here. Kari Lake just got a new appointment. She's going to be the next director of Voice of America. And we've talked about this agency before, this entity, because they do interesting work. The president posted this, says, I am pleased to announce that Kari Lake will serve as our next director of the Voice of America. She will be appointed by and work closely with our next head of the U.S. Agency for Global Media, who I will announce soon, to ensure that the American values of freedom and liberty are broadcast around the world fairly and accurately, unlike the lies spread by the fake news media. Kari was a beloved news anchor in Arizona, which supported me by record margins for over 20 years. Congratulations. Now, Voice of America, you may not be familiar with it, but the president has had a little bit of a battle with Voice of America before. And this article is back from April 10, 2020, when Trump was in the White House. The White House was slamming Voice of America, and Voice of America fights back. People have said that Voice of America is essentially a propaganda organization, if you're not familiar with what it is. A government-funded international broadcasting state media network. It is funded by the federal government, and it broadcasts all around the world. Now, I first learned about this through an article about Tucker Carlson's father named Dick Carlson, who used to run this organization back for a small period of time. This is Tucker's father. In the summer of 1986, President Reagan announced his intention to nominate Carlson to be the associate director of the agency, Voice of America. He became the director of Voice of America, which is a government-funded, state-owned multimedia agency which serves as the United States federal government's official institution for non-military external broadcasts. It broadcasts 24 hours a day, 50 languages, to more than 130 million people around the world, with a full-time staff of 3,000 people and a part-time staff of 1,200 people. Carlson was the longest-serving director in Voice of America's 50-year history. And that's an interesting background. Then, of course, Tucker Carlson's father did a bunch of other things and was a very accomplished man who now lives in Maine and is there with his wife on an island in Maine. They have a summer home. Interesting. Now, Kari Lake is going to be in this same position as Tucker Carlson's father. So an interesting little parallel situation happening. So White House slams, Voice of America fights back. And this is when Trump was going after Voice of America over the China pandemic, COVID madness. So Voice of America, this is an interesting dynamic here because Voice of America is fighting back against the White House, and they're both in the same government, right? Trump was criticizing them. Now he's going to be appointing Kari Lake to reform them and change them. He's already had tension. The White House on Friday, so rewind the clock, Trump's in the White House, 2020. The White House on Friday, Trump's White House, launched an unusual attack on Voice of America, the U.S. broadcaster that for decades has provided independent news reporting around the world, or you might call it government propaganda. Now, you might say it's good American propaganda, or maybe it's bad American propaganda. Maybe it was good when they was fighting communism. Maybe it's bad when it's fighting or when it's used on behalf of neocons. All right. You might have a different perspective. Maybe you have the reverse perspective on that. But regardless, it's the government's mouthpiece abroad. An official White House publication accused it of using taxpayer money to, quote, speak for authoritarian regimes because it covered the lifting of the lockdown in the Chinese city of Wuhan. The VOA fired back, defending its coverage. They said, nuh-uh, Voice of America spends your money to speak for the White House said, Voice of America spends your money to speak for authoritarian regimes. It said Voice of America's $200 million annual budget should be spent on its mission to, quote, tell America's story and present the policies of the United States clearly and effectively. But citing a VOA report from earlier in the week, the White House said the VOA too often speaks for America's adversaries, not for its citizens. It noted that Voice of America had also recently pointed out comments by Iran's foreign minister that are critical of the U.S. Okay, so it's like covering other state media's criticisms against the U.S. Friday's attack followed another barb from Trump's people on Thursday by social media director Dan Scavino, who branded Voice of America a disgrace. Voice of America fired it back at both attacks, responding to Scavino on Twitter, defending our coverage. No, we're unbiased. One of the big differences between publicly funded independent media like Voice of the People and state-controlled media is that we're free to show all sides of an issue and are actually mandated to do so by the law, they said. So we can talk about China. So Bennett noted that Voice of America, along with several other U.S. news outlets, has been barred from working in China. They're run for the Agency for Global Media, which also oversees other government-funded broadcasts like Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, Radio Free Asia, and more. So Kari Lake is going to be going and taking the helm as the director of Voice of America, much like Tucker Carlson's father was. And we'll see what she does with it. But it's a powerful organization, obviously, right? There's a lot of money and personnel and people impacted. Here's what Kari Lake said in response. I am honored that President Trump has asked me to lead the Voice of America. Voice of America News is a vital international media outlet dedicated to advancing the interest of the United States by engaging directly with people across the globe and promoting democracy and truth. With an audience of 326 million people, it's a lot, Voice of America delivers information in 48 languages. Under my leadership, the Voice of America will excel in its mission, chronicling America's achievements worldwide. Thank you for putting your trust in me, President Trump. I look forward to leading the Voice of America, and I can't wait to get started. Interesting appointment. And Kari Lake obviously has a ton of experience in the media and presenting. And so we're going to be excited to see what she does with it. But another appointment from the president now made, and January 20th can't come soon enough. All right.